Hi, hello friends. This is Cara-Renee with B.Reborn Art and Healing. Today I'm creating a page in my art journal, my Delusions art journal. I do use a lot of Shawn stencils, even though they're not exactly the ones that are being shown here. I didn't end up using a lot of what you see actually, aside from the journal and the background papers there. I didn't use the Jane Davenport paints either. But I did start a brand new journal. This pattern paper is from Seven Gypsies, and it was sent to me from a dear friend in the Midwest, which I looked at it and just loved it. I got immediately inspired to do this page, as well as this other kind of retro pattern paper, and I do use both of those and incorporate my layout for a 3-page spread. I actually used 3 pages, and I cut the middle page into a tab form so that I could create around that. It turned out really good. And here I'm just going ahead and putting some parchment paper in my journal so that I don't messy the pages underneath. And the pattern paper here I am cutting into a heart because I want that to be my focal image on the extra page, the small page in the middle, which will make more sense here in a few moments. I really liked the paper, and then I went ahead and cut all the other parts of that paper up into pieces. And this is what's going on, actually ends up going on the back of my flap. But here I am just tracing an outline for the part of that page that I want to cut out. And so there you can see my 3 pages, and then another piece of parchment paper to protect the page. And then here I am going ahead and using fluid matte medium to adhere all of my papers onto the left-hand side of the book. I did cut that original pattern paper up. Seven Gypsies paper is just gorgeous. It has text, and it has some floral, and it just had a lot of variation, but I wanted to tie in the other pattern piece paper into it, which is why I chose to go ahead and cut it up. Here I'm applying some gesso onto that middle section because I'm going to try to use some water media. It didn't actually end up working very well. I ended up having to really doctor it up. And here I apologize, this is off screen. That's what the quote that I chose that says, "Actually, you are enough." And I'm just going ahead and putting matte medium over the top of it so that that print is protected. It looks like I didn't cut out the drawing there. But I did go ahead and apply a layer of gesso because the water media will just soak into the paper if you don't use gesso. So there I'm just drying that and getting it ready for my paints. I tried using a couple of different things, and none of them really worked. It ended up working out okay in the end. I just ended up using a matte medium and sealed the whole surface. It turned out really beautiful, but it really wasn't what I was going for, but it was a happy accident. And then here I'm looking at that lace stencil, deciding that that's not what I'm going to use. I love that stencil. It's one of my favorites, but it just wasn't fitting with the idea that I had for this page. So I don't actually use that. And there I'm pulling out some, I believe that's Heidi Swap colored embossing paste. And I didn't end up using that either. Rather than try to do this voiceover again, I'm going to go ahead and leave this part in because I've already begun. Here is where I tried. I went in and using my Neo colors, and they're a water-soluble crayon. And again, it just did not work. They didn't spread very well. I haven't really played with them much. So I came in with a few colors, a yellow, a green, and then I believe it was a blue. They're a beautiful product, but they just weren't meeting the need here. The colors were not working out for me. Here, and I'm just dabbing it off because I didn't like the effect that it was leaving. And here, coming in with the blue, I'm hoping for a different result, apparently. Patting that out. What I ended up using is Deco Arts Premium paint in the green gold and quinacridone gold hue, and it was perfect because it brought out the kind of the lime green in the pattern paper there in the heart, as well as the quinacridone gold was kind of that reddish color in the paper as well. I tried, one of the boo-boos is I did try to use micro glaze from Tim Holtz or Ranger, and that didn't work. And so here we are, kind of have a mess, and it wouldn't dry, and so I sealed it with a fixative. I do end up coming back through and adding matte medium as well later on down the road. And here I'm using my brayer to apply the green gold paint, just kind of so that it will catch on the edges of the paper, the pattern paper piecing there, and then the quinacridone gold hue as well. And then next I am going to go ahead and do a raw umber glaze over the left-hand side of the page over all of that pattern paper. And I do it twice, I believe, because I wiped too much back. But let's see what happens here. Yeah, and so here is when I'm coming in with the matte medium and sealing up that surface, because it was just not going to take much more than I had already given it. And here I'm just adhering that heart and my sentiment, which is actually "you are enough." I was truly inspired when I saw that Facebook post on my feed, and I was really struggling with creating. I was just in a funk and I couldn't think of anything to do, and everything I tried wasn't working. So it was a good reminder for me. And here I'm using the Mediterranean stencil, and again using one of my favorite colors, which is the Golden Fluid Acrylic Payne's Gray. And then that bit there that is under my hand, it says designer pattern. I went ahead and cut that out of the scrapbook paper as well, and put it on that page as it needed something, but not too much. And then here I'm going to go ahead and add that stencil work to my tabbed out page. I don't know what else to call it. It's a partial page. And then here I am again, wiping back some of that Payne's Gray paint to reveal the pattern underneath, the colors underneath. And then here I'm going to go ahead and do a raw umber glaze on the tab page here. And I really like the look that it gave it. It was gorgeous. I love raw umber. I am coming in now with heavy body golden titanium white, and bringing in some light into the pages, using the lace stencil. I did end up using the lace stencil. I forgot about that. And then here I'm using some of the Doodle Minis. This is one that has numbers on it. And then there's another one that is some bubble shapes that you'll see here in a moment. The white just really ties the piece together. I struggled for a long time with adding white because I liked things to all be the same color, I guess. But it is true that it adds a lot of interest. And so I have been doing that, and it turns out really, really beautiful when the page is finished. And here I'm just giving a glaze to that piece of paper there, and then coming in on my other page and adding some white stencil work as well. Really, really loved how the page turned out. It was so much fun, and it was so freeing and so healing for me. I accepted a lot of things about myself and my style. This paper here was really interesting because there's a little number penciled on the right-hand side of that page, and it says 5-10. And I didn't write that on there. It's on the paper, and that's actually my birth date. And so that really meant a lot to me and just really made me feel good about the choice that I made. I did come in here with heavy body gel or heavy gel because that paper was much more porous and thick. And then I'm sealing that with a regular matte medium because I am going to put a little bit of paint over it, though not much. And then this is my third page. So this is the back page of the 3-page series there. And this is the green gold Deco Art premium paint. And I loved how this turned out. I painted the whole surface, and then I kind of not wiped it back, but kind of just pounced on it and gave this beautiful texture. And then here, this was just a clothing tag that was in my stash, and it says True Self. And I saw that and I was like, oh my goodness, that is the perfect thing for this piece. Because again, this was my struggle, was struggling with, you know, how do I get back to me? How do I get back to my style? How do I free up my creativity again to create for Shawn's team in a way that honors my heart? And here I came in with us. I believe this is the stamp Pendus. It's like a sewing stitch stamp, and it was so fitting with the theme of this being patterns and things like that. So I will actually be using that surface to journal on again later in a private moment. So, and that will be me writing about what this process was like for me, kind of reconnecting with my own heart and my own creative style. And then here you'll just see me kind of adding some of that green gold and the quinacridone gold hue to the page with the lady. And then I tied that little tassel on, which I just loved it. And this page meant so much to me. I just can't even say what it did to my heart. It flowed beautifully. I had tried 4 or 5 different pieces, trying to create, you know, my second video kind of just in preparation for future postings. I always want to be over prepared. And just everything I touched was just like, it was just awful, and it just didn't work. And I was frustrated and just really trying to seek out my heart and figure out what that was about. And what I realized is that I had let go of my own style in an effort to use the products that I love, but I was doing it in a way that didn't fit with my heart. I don't know how to create for the sake of creating. I create out of my heart, and I wasn't doing that. It was like I was creating to perform, and that's not freeing for me. And then here I'm just coming through and doing all my shadows with my General's charcoal pencil, adding some Payne's Gray splatters, as well as some white splatters on both of these pages, the flip out page and then the main page on the left. And then I do dry it a little bit so that I can flip that page over without affecting the page and splatter on the back of the flip out page and the green journal writing page there. So this was just an incredibly fun project. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you'll come back and check out more of Shawn's team creative posts. Thank you.